Mr. President, this week Republicans in Congress are determined to barrel ahead at full speed in a rushed, partisan effort to pass a tax plan at any cost. Mr. President, make no mistake, for working families in Illinois and across the United States, this is a mistake. Preliminary analysis from the nonpartisan Joint Committee on Taxation revealed that by 2019, more than 13 million Americans who make less than $200,000 a year will experience not a tax cut, but a tax increase under the Senate Republican plan. That number jumps from 13 million to 21 million by the year 2025. And in my state, taxpayers at every income bracket in Illinois are going to see their taxes increase for this tax reform that's being pushed through at the last minute of this session. 14% of the middle fifth of taxpayers in Illinois, those who are the very definition of middle income, will see an average tax hike under the Senate plan of $1,400. So much for a tax cut. It's a tax increase. Mr. President, I don't know about taxpayers in your state, but in my home state of Illinois, a $1,400 tax hike is a gut punch to a working family. That's not all. Further analysis from the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities show that in addition to the millions of households which will see their taxes rise under the Senate Republican plan, 53 million households, that's 40% of all households earning less than $200,000 per year, would see no significant tax change under the new plan. Let's be clear. If you're a middle-income family listening to that and you're thinking you might want to take your chances under this Republican plan, please look at the facts. Even if you're one of the lucky ones who manages not to pay more under the Republican tax plan, make no mistake that when this plan blows a $1.5 trillion hole in our nation's deficit, it will be working families who end up paying the bill. When Republicans' fake math indeed falls short and the deficit is skyrocketing, the Republican budget has already identified how they're going to pay for these tax cuts in the future. Are you ready? They're going to do it with an additional $470 billion in cuts in Medicare benefits. Medicare. They're paying for a tax cut for wealthy people by reducing the benefits paid out under Medicare to retired Americans. And another $1 trillion cuts in Medicaid. Remember Medicaid? That's the program. The major expense of that program is to maintain the lives and health of 2/3 of Americans who are in nursing homes. So the Republicans want to give a tax break to the wealthy. They're going to ask seniors who've retired to pay more or receive less for Medicare and make a dramatic cut in Medicaid as well. There's no hiding. Congressional Republicans have made clear that one way or another, working families in America are going to pay for what they call tax reform. At the heart of the Republican playbook for how to bankroll massive tax cuts for the wealthy few and the largest corporations is the elimination of 3 vital tax breaks for working families. The House Republican plan will be voted on this week. They are dead set to get this done in a matter of days. And they're going to eliminate in the House plan the medical expense deduction. What does that mean? It means if someone in your family is diagnosed with a serious illness, God forbid, cancer or whatever it is, and your family ends up incurring massive debts, making sure that that person survives, if you incur those debts, you currently can deduct them from your taxes that you pay. But the House Republican plan eliminates the deduction. 350,000 or more in my state of Illinois use the medical expense deduction. Their medical bills are that high. The Republicans in the House eliminate that deduction. That isn't going to help working families. It puts them at risk of bankruptcy. The number one reason for bankruptcy in America, medical bills. The House Republican tax plan makes it tougher. More than 370,000, I said 350, more than 370,000 Illinoisans claim an average of $10,000 deduction for medical expenses, for hospital care, long-term nursing home care, prescription drug cost. That's just wrong. And there's more. The House plan also eliminates the student loan interest deduction. Think about that for a second. Here we have 1.5 million young people in Illinois paying off student loans. You know what they face: $20,000, $40,000, $60,000, $80,000 in debt. Some of them are still living in their parents' basement because of their student loans. We give them one little break. You know what it is? The deductibility of the interest on student loans. And yet here come the Republicans to eliminate that deduction. Why would we ever want to make it harder for these students and their families to pay off that mountain of debt that they incurred going to college? But that's part of the so-called Republican tax reform. They also include the one provision that I know my colleague from New York, the Democratic leader, feels very intensely about, because our states share the same problem. This compromise proposed in the Senate eliminates the state and local property tax deduction. For state income tax, sales tax, and property tax, currently in New York and Illinois and many other states, we hold to the basic principle: Americans should not have to pay a tax on a tax. Unfortunately, the Republicans in the Senate believe they want to change that. The net result of that is to increase dramatically the burden that so many tax-paying families already face. We've seen increases in our state income tax. We face regular increases in property taxes. This is the one deduction that gives these families a little bit of help, and the Republicans are eliminating it. It was a week ago when I had a press conference with the realtors in my state and the home builders who are dramatically opposed to the elimination of this deduction and other changes that are being made when it comes to purchasing homes and home ownership. They have told me that if you want real economic growth in Illinois or any state, you start with people building and buying homes. Sadly, the Republican approach when it comes to tax reform refuses to take that into consideration. We need to stand up for working families in our states of Illinois and New York and across this nation. This tax reform plan that's been proposed by the Republicans, who are determined to get it done in just a matter of a few days, is going to be damaging to so many, and it's not going to help America grow. Middle-income families are going to pay for the cost of giveaways to the wealthiest taxpayers in America.